Hugely excited to be here with you. I've done a bit of research on you lot already, and I know I'm in the company of some great entrepreneurs, some competitors I've noticed, even flower growers like us. So yeah, it's a real pleasure. I was once quoted in Hole and Corner magazine as saying that I love the eccentricity of doing impractical things for improbable reasons. It's not a quote that I would have encouraged, but they pulled it out and stuck it on the front and put it on Instagram, which was interesting. But I hope today you'll realize that you can be dynamic in business and also a little bit impractical, a little bit improbable, but you can also combine some of your loves and passions and social goals with growing a business as well. So first of all, how many of you have heard of Mitchell & Peach, firstly, just so I know? A couple, okay, good. We are we're farmers, I guess, in terms of our history. We've been farming near Sevenoaks for 5 generations, so since about 1894 on the same site. And in fact, a couple of you have been to the farm, and really that's the start of this business. For me personally, and I know we all have our own individual motivations for starting what we're starting and doing what we're doing. But yeah, for me it was really to continue this tradition and some of the customs associated with it and some of the relationships with the local families and the local economy as well. So it happens that when we looked at the bath and body care and perfumery market, we realized that there weren't that many people growing what they're bottling, for one thing. So I personally felt that was a really great place to start. So I started with planting a whole load of lavender, which is still in the ground, recently planted some more, and we have some other crops that I'll introduce you to. But as I say, this is really the beginning and the end of the business for me. It's the background. So these are my ancestors. That's my granddad right there with a kilt on. And this is where I go to work every day. So yeah, by the way, before I forget, if anyone's in the area, just drop by and come and say hello. But it's near Sevenoaks, near Seal. Yeah, you can see some of it from the train to London, exactly. But actually, the main site is sort of between Seal and Borough Green. Yes, quite near there. Yeah, exactly. But come in June. Or July, preferably, because that's when the lavender's out. It all looks amazing. So yeah, as I mentioned, the tradition is quite varied. We've done a lot of things over the years. We've had pigs, we've had hops, we've had strawberries and potatoes, a lot of soft fruit and top fruit. But I wanted to try something different. And I had a natural interest in branding, I suppose, and luxury goods and luxury methods of manufacture. And so we settled on lavender, and we teamed up with some other local growers, and really that's the way that it's remained since we started. The peachy essence of the angustifolia lavender, in fact, I expect people in this room know all about angustifolia lavender. There's at least one other flower grower here, I'm sure. Who's wearing wellies? Somebody's wearing wellies. Yes, so in fact, that's where there you are. So that's where the name came from, Mitchell & Peach. We just wanted something tactile and something different, and something I guess that had the name in as well, just for the reasons of heritage and so on. So let's flip. I just wanted to put this one up because this was, do you know where the church is in Covent Garden? This is where we were for about 50 years with fruit and veg. So my dad used to drive the lorry out there, and that's our booth. That's where the porter used to stand. So yeah, that's just a really, fun part of my history. And whenever I'm up there, I fantasize about getting one of those corner stores as a Mitchell & Peach shop. So I'm working on that one. There shouldn't be a gelateria, should it really? It should be something else. So yes, this is a little 60-second whiz round the farm. At around the time my great-great-grandfather first planted this land, Henry Rolls built his first motor car. We share many things beside a long heritage. Attention to detail. A commitment to traditional methods.
a determination to be the best at what we do.
Catch her if you can. Kiss her on the shoulder.
We are delighted to be known as the Rolls-Royce of fine fragrance and body products.
It just gives you an idea of the place, sense of the place. And also, Rolls-Royce was a good fit for us because they're very much into their handwork and into their tradition and their artisanship, and also the tradition of the founders and so on. So we're very pleased that we have been kind of endorsed by them as the Rolls-Royce of fine fragrance and body care, and put in their magazine, and they come and visit us each summer. In fact, only people with 2 Rolls-Royces are allowed to come down, which seems a bit ridiculous when everyone's welcome, but that's not my rule, that's theirs. So yeah, we've just been through some of this. So I guess we have some other brand people in the room, but I just want to say a few words about branding and like luxury branding, what that is to me, and then perhaps later we can talk about some more nuanced and sort of newer, more in-depth aspects of what luxury brands or brands in general should be in terms of social purpose. But in terms of the nuts and bolts of luxury branding, which is very much where Mitchell & Peach is placed in the market, we believe that heritage is really important. So that's really front and center of everything. Provenance too. In fact, provenance, I guess, is almost a point of entry into this market. And in fact, increasingly most markets, I think people want to know where things are from and who's made them or grown them or gathered the honey where and that kind of thing. And then, of course, the skill. I mean, I work with perfumers who have that nose and that training. I just give them a really crazy idea, like, I've just walked through a field of mown grass, do that in an eau de toilette. And they do, and remarkably they can. And more on that in a second. So yeah, also an element of handwork is important to us. So in fact, we do a lot with our hands in general, as you can imagine. So there's a lot of basic work like the weeding and control of that kind, planting, and then there's the more kind of more sort of top end stuff on the sort of on the blending and the perfumery side of things. Also, I don't know, but I personally think that brands, particularly in this space, should have a relationship to the arts and with creativity. So we are engaging some art students on a project at the moment to create homepages for us. These are kind of very sort of cutting-edge young artists, so it'll be interesting to see what they come up with for us. But to me, that's a really exciting, I guess, contrast, sort of complement, the sort of traditional brand with a kind of youthful, kind of creative energy as well. And then I'll just say a word about the countryside, because we talk a lot about purpose, and I'm increasingly asked by general managers of hotels or buyers at stores, sort of, what's your green credentials or what's your green policy? And yeah, we can talk about using post-consumer recycled plastics and sort of minimal impact processes and so on. But when I put these questions to other members of my family, like my dad, for example, who still farms, it's very much a tradition of his to just manage the countryside, which is what farmers generally tend to do really, really well. So, I mean, he's often done skylark nesting areas, for instance, without being asked to do skylark nesting areas, or wildlife corridors, again, without anyone actually asking him to do these things. So I would say that that's also a part of the green tradition in this business, for sure. I just want to introduce you to the range of the products, and then we can go on to talk about the sort of broader subject here. In fact, this is probably right now our kind of, I guess, one of our bread and butter kind of parts of the business, which is hotels. Hotels, of course, always want, as in most businesses, people want something that's niche and no one's ever heard of, but they also want it to be really cheap and they want all their guests to have heard of it. So, you can have these interesting discussions, but we seem to be finding a home among 5-star hotels, and there's a home rental company called One Fine Stay in London, which is a kind of an upmarket Airbnb. We supply them nationally. And that's proving to be, yeah, a really great market for us. And very much with this brand, it's very much about identifying where it ought to be, because I could put it into a lot of places, but then you would probably diminish the long-term brand value. That's a rather dull, sort of dry brand positioning point. But I was asked, for instance, to put it into a hotel that was opening in East London, sort of a 3-4-star business hotel. And at that point, we had to say, it's not quite the right fit for you, unfortunately. Yeah, if we could. Oh yeah, let's have a taste. So I don't know how many expert noses. I think there's at least one refined nose in the room. But what I thought we would do is just have a smell of English leaf, which is what you call a green floral. And it's a very popular eau de toilette in our collection, inspired by that field that I was talking about earlier. And I'd just love to know, like, if anyone could identify any of the notes in there. There are probably, I guess, 6 sort of key notes in there. So if anyone can tell me what they are, I would love to. I'd love to test your skills. Go on. So far, I've only had lemon. There must be more. Go on. Yes. A very, very, very small amount of lavender. Yeah. Yes, basil. We have a winner. Lemon and basil so far. Yeah. Okay, we just literally got 2 minutes on the collection itself. So this is our retail collection, which are, I guess, the kind of heroes of the company in a sense. And these are the best-selling items in this collection. So we've just seen this, and then we also do the hand washes and hand creams and that kind of thing in that collection. In fact, the hand cream is an interesting one because tell me if I'm overdoing the product stuff, because I could actually talk all day about product. Actually, Catherine, you need like our hand cream, because when I developed the hand cream, I was at Condé Nast magazines. And of course, everyone at Condé Nast magazines is constantly on the computer and picking up the phone. And I noticed that all the girls around me kept complaining about slippery fingers on their handsets and leaving marks on everything. So actually, that was one of the main briefs to the formulator at that time, is make it quick dry and to leave a slightly kind of waxy finish, so that you can pick up your phone and get on with what you're doing. So yeah, just a little anecdote about new product development there. Should we go on to, yeah, and this is really, I guess, the original my original baby in a way. We started with 4 products in total, and they were all in this collection. So this has our Angustifolia in it, and Rosa centifolia, and Ylang Ylang, and Palma Rosa oils. And it's a very warm kind of, I guess, a warm floral, I suppose you describe it. Oh yeah, the cob nut scrub I must talk about. Cob nut scrub. Does everyone know? Well, everyone here is going to know what cob nuts are. You'll be amazed. If you cross into cross-county lines, no one knows what cob nuts are. It's literally just in this geographical stretch. So yeah, I think we're the only, luxury cob nut scrub in the world. And that's found its way to, California and places. They probably think it's very exotic that we have these cob nuts over here. But basically, cob nuts are just cultivated hazelnuts. And we've been growing them for about 55 years. In fact, we've been growing the same trees for 55 years. So, yeah, not me personally, please. Fine Radiance Face Oil, again, that's another one that's really popular. That's from cold-pressed nuts and has a... in fact, Emma was just saying that she uses it every night, which I'm hugely impressed by. So thank you. Yes. So we mentioned sustainability earlier. Yeah, I mean, for me, I guess this is you should take this for granted in a sense that we take it seriously. So post-consumer recycled plastic is used in all our amenities bottles, which is actually the bulk of plastic that we use. And also the caps and bottles are recyclable, which is actually surprisingly not the case in many of our competitors. They might use compressed plastics or ureas, which you can't actually recycle. We've talked about biodiversity, and I guess I could talk about food miles and the fact that we make everything locally and produce as much of it locally as we can. And then for the hotels, we use refill options and things. In fact, I'm looking into changing our offering there because I think longer term we want to get rid of single-use plastics altogether, and we want to move to an attractive dispenser system, which actually is harder than you might think. But we're going to get there. That is actually on my list of things to do. Yes. So I just didn't want to end this evening or move on to the next stage of the discussion without talking about the sister brand of Mitchell and Peach. We realised that we had a lot of energy for sort of soaps, sort of block soaps, traditional soaps, the sort of Marseille tradition of soaps. And also, we wanted to introduce a kind of, I guess, a kind of younger brand, a more ethically driven, or explicitly ethically driven brand into the market as well, which we are doing now. In fact, we've just done. So we've just launched Stone Street SOAPHOUSE, which is exactly that. So it's ethically, responsibly sourced, big chunky block soaps, and liquids and creams. And we've already got it into Hilton and Waitrose, who are actually both great partners. I mean, Hilton, you might not think, but they take environmental responsibility extremely seriously, especially in their new Curio collection. And also they're in Canary Wharf. The first hotel we're working with is in Canary Wharf. Waitrose, I'm a huge fan of Waitrose, and they fit completely with our values as well. And they're also just brilliant people to work with. So we're in 21 stores as of now. I just wanted to pass around the block soap, actually, because I was excited that we could produce this. This is like, nobody does chunky block, well, some people do, but very few people do chunky block soaps now. And maybe you could just sort of just pass that back. And that's what we wanted to do. We wanted a really impractical kind of doorstop soap that's going to last forever. And also, I like the idea of soaps and bars in general because you're not carting around loads of water. Obviously, when I send a bottle of this, that's mostly water, inevitably. Any shower wash is, or hand wash. But I'm looking into the possibility of doing more and more in terms of bars, so bar shampoos and conditioners, for example, because it's just better for the environment. I mean, you're just not sending around so much stuff, so much weight. So when I'm asked to send this to New York or West Coast America, it does cross my mind that actually that's a hell of a lot of miles for that weight to travel. So anyway, that's something that's very much on our radar as well. Yeah, so I just wanted to mention Stone Street SOAPHOUSE as well because I think in terms of values in general, I think it fits in. And I also think it has an interesting place in the market because people want to know why you're doing what you're doing. They want to know how you're doing what you're doing. But actually, Catherine, do you mind if I just sort of introduce another level of discussion? Like, when I first looked into starting Mitchell and Peach, I was talking with one of the senior researchers at Mintel, which is a kind of research company, and she was saying to me, it's about organic now. This is going back 10, 12 years. It's about organic now, but very soon it's going to be about provenance. And that was interesting to me. And not everyone in the room may agree with this, but my own view is that organic is extremely laudable, but in terms of a sort of macro trend, organic has come. It's still very important, of course. And then, of course, provenance has come, and then that's enormous in terms of everything from our coffee to our soap to the leather that we wear on our shoes. But my own contention really is that it's becoming more and more about why. This is the next step. And that's why what Catherine says resonates with me. It's very much going to be about why you're doing what you're doing. Like, why is a company doing what they're doing? So therefore, it is about purpose in the truest sense. So everything I'm seeing is indicating this. I mean, the networks that I'm in touch with in America, for example, who are comparable in their intention to yours, I would say, it's very much about why you're doing it. So, I've been asked to go and talk to them about that. They've got some brilliant, obviously, California's full of people who are driven by purpose. And actually, I think we are in this country as well. And actually, I would say that in the UK, we have an advantage over even them in that we are expert storytellers. I don't think we even realize it in this country. But you cannot walk down the street without seeing a fantastic story about why people are doing what they're doing or how they're doing what they're doing. And honestly, not everybody in the world can do that like we can. I mean, I suppose it's part of a very long tradition of storytelling in the UK, and also the fact we have the advantage of the language and the infrastructure here. But we are world-class storytellers, and I think that if we tell the right stories, we're world-class businesses as well. And change makers, yeah. Sorry, that concludes the sort of presentation-y bit, so thank you very much.
Thank you.